Welcome to My Creative Corner 3, a podcast about quilting, creativity, and life in a northern town. Feel free to leave comments on the show notes at mycreativecorner3.wordpress.com, and let's keep the conversation going online. My name is Vicki, and welcome to the podcast. Happy 2018. Here we are on Martin Luther King Day. I have the day off from my day job, and I've been spending it doing all quilty things. I have to say that I really have been focusing a lot in my mind today about what this day means, and I am very, very grateful to those pioneers of the civil rights movement, and I really want to keep that in mind as I go forward for the rest of the year. So what have I been up to? Well, a lot. And this last week, it has been particularly difficult. Why has it been so difficult? I don't know. I think what it is that there's just been so much new, a lot of change and transition, and overall, everything is new. Computer's updated, new computer program at work, learning new things, trying new things, expanding everything, patterns, stores, cold. And in the cold brings a lot of difficulties. Everything slows down and takes twice as long as it should. And this last week was no different. The truck froze, my husband's vehicle. We don't know what's wrong with it. The mechanic is puzzled. He's done a lot of preliminary testing, and now we're just hanging out to see what maybe it was just cold and it froze up. We don't know. That's the thing about it. It's frustrating. We may have to drive it and take it back several times. I'm hoping it's not an electrical problem. So that has been frustrating, trying to stick to the brand new schedule, brand new things, brand new 2018 resolutions, diet, exercise, keep it going, be organized, get things done. And the honeymoon is worn off. And this last week, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Wow, I've had a lot of changes. And I decided that, it takes 30 days to make a habit, according to something I read a long time ago. And I'm not even 30 days into this, so I need to dig deep. And this is when it becomes real. Really, really dig deep if I want these changes to stick. I want to thank the Quilty Planner. They are sponsoring today's episode, and it is the most wonderful thing for January. I got my planner and immediately felt so much better about writing it down in the planner, which is absolutely fabulous. I'm organized. I got my life in there, my appointments, a few things for work, my quilting things, customer stuff, the resources. It comes with a pattern book. There's patterns in the Quilter's Planner. And if you want to jump in on Instagram, they have a 30-day photo challenge called the QP Best Year Ever 2018, and I've been doing it. Wow, what a great resource. I would encourage you to get one if your January has been feeling like mine and you need to write it down. I've tried electronic reminders and emails and the calendar, and it doesn't work for me, not one bit. And this has been keeping me on track. Quilting wise, I have done 3 customer quilts since the beginning of the year. And I have decided that I absolutely am in love with improv free motion quilting. I did a quilt, one of the 3 was swirls that were just improvisationally placed throughout the whole thing. And then during the block section, each quadrant had a different type of improvisationally pieced block. Think Gwen Marston, because this person took classes from Gwen and is heavily inspired by her work. And it had really a 4 elements feel with a tiny block in the center. So I took cues from that. I mean, there's one block is earth, one block is water, one block is fire and home fires, and the other block is wind, and the center block is a fifth element. I'm going to call it the human condition. I really, really enjoyed that so much. And it helped inspire me to do the other quilts that I was working on. And I really discovered that improvisationally piece is really a fancy overall meander. There's a lot of repetitive elements to it. And I love meanders. I just love them. They flow from me easily. And the quilts turn out so much better than when I try to mimic a computer. The human hand is in these meanders and these improvisationally quilted pieces, and it just works for me so much. Makes me feel inspired and incredibly creative. So I had those done. The other quilt that was amazing was by a lady in her late 80s, and I believe she might be 90 now. She pieced an on-point sawtooth star, and in the middle I put a feather meander, and then in the borders I put some other elements, a ribbon and swirls. My favorite. And I feel like I've perfected that for my style of swirl. And then I came to this last week. I have 2 quilts that I'm working on, and they have a little story. The story is that they are made with Michael Miller fabrics, and Michael Miller had these fabrics in packets for quilters at QuiltCon last year. The quilters made the blocks. The blocks were sent to Michael Miller. Michael Miller sorted them out for quilts, and a charity was selected to get some of these quilts, and Quilt for Cure is getting 7 of these quilts. They're 6.5-inch blocks. They are little works of art. They are gems. They are phenomenal. I mean, there's helicopters and there's penguins and hedgehogs and butterflies, but then there's all these funky, cool, modern shaped ones, a few traditionally pieced ones with the fabulous modern fabric. I am putting them together, and the fabric is divine. I'll be honest, I don't think I've bought much Michael Miller just because I haven't seen it much in our area. The hand on this is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's sewing up well, it's quilting up well. Part of my agony was, what do I do on the 2 quilts that I'm doing? Because these quilts are going to go to QuiltCon to show the quilters what they look like finished, and that they're going to be going to children fighting cancer. Quilts for Cure, Holly will be there, Holly Ann will be there, and I'm just agonized over the decision of what to do. So it brought me back to, well, what have I been working on recently, and what do I know best? Improvisationally, free motion quilted swirls. It made my heart sing, and I thought, that's what I'm going to do for these 2 little quilts. It'll keep the quilt soft for the child, and it won't take away from the star of the show, which is the fabulous piecing of these little tiny gems of quilt blocks. So the decision was made. I started quilting it, and now I'm about halfway done with the first one. The second one will be done, and then it will be the race to the finish line to get the binding on. This has encouraged me after I'm done, because I only know how to do the method of attaching the binding to the front and hand stitching it to the back. Decided I really should make a goal this year of learning how to machine bind a quilt, but I'm not going to do that on these. I'm not going to learn how to do that on these. I've also had some new things happening. I've been very excited about a class for beginners and the skill building sampler that we'll be doing. I started the sampler online on the website as a free quilt along mystery quilt called New Beginnings. Just fits in with this new year and all the new things I've been doing. And it's a bigger quilt. So if you really would like to jump in, we've only had 3 blocks start with a snowball block, a churn dash, and a 9 patch. So you haven't missed out on too much of the mystery, and I gave some of the mystery away. But the blocks all are designed to to remind us and refresh a lot of different skills that we have been working on. What I've also been working on is the PDFs for my newsletter subscribers so that they can print them off. And I haven't got them done yet, so I'll probably do it in bunches of 3 or 5 or 6, or if I can figure it out, that they can go to a special link as a subscriber and then download and print off whichever PDF of the block that they want. That's been my goal, to work on that over the next little bit. So New Beginnings is the name of this sampler mystery quilt, and it's been going along great. It's so much fun to see people post online using the hashtag or I have a Facebook group that people belong to and are sharing. So that has been an incredible amount of fun. I enjoy teaching, and I'm hoping that I can really continue to take this to the next level, because I'm also going to do an improvisational piecing class in March, and then maybe a second half of that class in the summer months. So those will be so exciting. I'm just thrilled, because I've tried to do classes before at the quilt shop and no one ever signed up for them. So this is pretty exciting for me. So with all of that to say, I've been pretty busy, and January is usually the month of the winter doldrums, and I haven't had too much of that because I've been keeping myself busy. And, I've even tried doing a Facebook Live this morning, which I finally got it to work, and I showed a method of doing a stitch and flip. And I'm going to keep working on production with the Facebook Live and how it works. And I'm thinking I had to consult with my technologically consultant who has tech consultant, there we go, for the podcast, because I figured out why the microphone wasn't working for the last couple podcasts, and I was getting a lot of terrible sound. So I was walked through the settings and blah, blah, blah. And here I am. I feel like I'm getting better at it, and I'm learning a lot. For this middle-aged lady, learning a lot can be difficult. But, you make a mistake a few times and you don't do it again. So we've got all of that business going on, and then February is right around the corner, and I'm so excited that I'm using my quilter's planner to keep myself organized and keep pushing myself forward. But I do expect February to be a month of more new beginnings. Quilt for Cure is going to do a block drive, so stay tuned for that. I'm still working on the hats for donation, and it's Crocheting for a Cure, and they have a Facebook group, and I'm going to put that in the show notes too. So if you want to crochet or knit a hat, you can be part of that also. February will bring so much going on with QuiltCon, and then the Operation Smiley block drive for Quilts for Cure will happen, and you'll be able to be part of that. I, and my personal part of my quilting world, am really working on, excuse me, getting this store up and running and trying to do mini quilts for myself. So I've got a half square triangle one started. And I did it with all of the rush and all of the bustle. You say, how could you possibly start another project when you've got so much going on and you feel behind? Well, I was feeling like I hadn't done anything for myself. So the first thing I did is my quilt group. We did a marbling class. I missed that when the quilt shop did it several years ago. And we asked if she would do that class again for our small group. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. I was incredibly inspired because I have never really done painting or dyeing or anything. I'm a klutz when it comes to that kind of stuff. And it really was phenomenal. It's the same way as marbling paper from what she told us. I had so much fun. I did hearts and feathers and plumes and swirls and modern art ones, and I did all kinds of colors, and I got 8. If I had enough energy to do one more, I would have 9, and that would have been a great quilt. But I think what I'm going to do is mini quilts out of these fabrics. And they're all so unique and beautiful. And I think in a quilt would be the best way to use them versus framing them. I'm afraid that won't show them off to their best. And I want to be able to put some texture on them with quilting too. And then Saturday, so it'd be 2 days ago, because this is Monday, Martin Luther King Day. I wasn't going to take the time, but I did go to a sew-in with these same ladies. So because of January, we all get the winter doldrums and cabin fever. We took a day, and this is like an annual event. We sat, and they had people there from 8 to 5. I didn't get there till 10 because, our vehicle froze up with that ridiculously cold weather. Did we talk about that? It got 20 below and it was cold, and then it got to be about 50, and then it dropped down again to 0, and then we went to a hockey game Friday, and then the car wouldn't start. So I got there late, but it was the best therapy and best thing for self-care and balancing my life. I started the half square triangle quilt with all of the cherry wood fabric I bought last summer at the Grand Rapids Quilt Show, and I've been hoarding it. And I thought, you know what? I was inspired by the half square triangle quilt Mary Fonz did, and she did a lecture in a trunk show. And I thought, wouldn't that be fun? So I paired all of these beautiful, rich hand-dyed fabrics with a light gray, and I will have lots of room to do a lot of quilting. So that is my self-care for the month. And I'm also decided I'm knitting swatches out of off-white natural colored yarn wools, and I'm doing that granny stripe, and it's almost done. Once I did all of those self-care things, I felt so much better, and that things were not so overwhelming and terrible, because really things aren't terrible. There's just, I was feeling a million thoughts and a million miles an hour in my brain of going on and on. So that's what I'm doing this year, is mini quilts, because I have about 10 big ones. February, I hope to get into those, but for January, I've got my work cut out for me getting these deadline quilts done. And then the class will start. So I'm pretty excited. So what were your New Year's resolutions? Did you try anything new? Did you pick a word of the year? I wasn't going to do that, but once my quilter's planner came, oh, that's a tough one to say. I decided to go with the word present, or being mindful. Present. I want to be present in what I'm doing. I talked about that. Excuse me. I talked about that last podcast, but I really want to make that something in the forefront of my mind. No multitasking, focus on what I'm doing. Really do the project I'm working on, and take it to a level of where I am happy with it, not just that it's done. Doesn't mean I'm going to be labor and be perfectionistic about it, but don't try to multitask and focus on what I'm doing. Being present. I'm also trying the whole diet and exercise thing, and that got hard this last week, but I pushed the reset button and I'm moving forward. And I want to keep learning and doing new things. So get yourself a quilter's planner if you need to get more organized. I'm so thankful for their generosity. I would like to also say that in some of the upgrades and changes on the web page, I did add a You Can Help tab at the top. You can click on a link to go to a patron page, and you could do a monthly gift, or if you want to do a one-time gift and you'd rather go with the PayPal, there's a link there where you can go to my little store and then choose how to support the podcast via PayPal. I so appreciate those who have supported me. It really helps me a lot in keeping the production costs down and being able to do all of the things that I need to do with the podcast and website. I also encouraging you to go to my website, My Creative Corner 3.wordpress.com, and sign up for the newsletter. You can get some of the inside scoop on what I might be doing, and all of the the bonus content for things of being a newsletter subscriber. And it also helps you keep up on the podcast and different things that are happening. And also next month, you're going to have the opportunity to see some meanders, because I'm doing a blog hop that is taking Angela Walter's new book on meanders and showing you some different ways to use things that may not be traditionally thought of as free motion meanders. Yay, it's in my wheelhouse. I love these kinds of things, so I'm so excited about it. So definitely, man, there's a lot going on, and I love it that way. Thank you for listening, and I hope that as you reach our first month of being gone in 2018, that your new habits are sticking and that you're finding your way of doing self-care to bring balance into your life and to find that inner peace and joy. I just want to say quilt on and have a most wonderful day. Thank you.